The Legend of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Part 1, Chapter 18, Masters. Written and performed by Joseph Chambers and based on the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird.
Well done, everyone, Master Splinter cheered. I only have a couple of things to say before we leave for the evening. Firstly, well done, Leonardo, as by not using your weapon, you had the advantage of having your hands free, which was far more effective for the tactic you had chosen. Remember, he announced, turning to all his students, the weapon is only useful when your technique to defeat an opponent requires it. Taijutsu, he turned to April, meaning unarmed combat, is sometimes necessary and just as useful as armed combat. It is also vital to master as it is one of the 18 key skills of the ninja. Secondly, he turned to Michelangelo, I feel it may be best for you to not display overconfidence when you have not already defeated your opponent. Overconfidence can lead to a lack of attention and, in your case, defeat. Michelangelo nodded glumly and Master Splinter turned to Donatello. Thirdly, do not overthink everything. Donatello gave a worried look. I don't understand. I thought... Splinter interrupted him. That is my point. Rather than fighting via instinct as a ninja should, you fought with a plan. The trouble is, you cannot always guarantee how your opponent will act, and therefore cannot always completely plan for a fight. Donatello seemed to shudder slightly at this thought, but nodded nevertheless, and quietly mumbled, Hi, Sensei. Master Splinter turned to face Raphael. And finally, whilst I commend your efforts and admit your aggression is very powerful when channeled effectively, I fear if not controlled it could lead to harm for you or your brothers by overtaking you and clouding your judgment. You must not let raw passion control you. Remember, these are only practice fights. The turtles then began to split up and collected the sand in large burlap sacks. On the other side of the building, Splinter and April were having a discussion. April was incredibly impressed and could hardly contain herself with the potential thought of learning ninjutsu. Thank you for your demonstration. I definitely want to learn how to be what was the word again? Kunoichi, Splinter corrected. Right, yeah, anyway, my point is I really want to do this. When do I start training? I will call you in advance for when I want you to attend training on your shell cell, he said, making a speech mark gesture with his hands and pronouncing the words shell cell with dislike. Donatello and Michelangelo can be blamed for the ridiculous name. April bid her farewell to the turtles and climbed back down the fire escape to see a brand new and open window attached to her window frame. I'm not sure they will ever stop amazing me, she thought to herself. It had taken a few days to locate anyone close enough to the shredder to arrange Peter and Kevin an audience with him. When they had explained to their contact that they had met a turtle, the man had got back to them very quickly and had said they would be going for a little jaunt to Asia. After an all-expenses-paid flight to a small island in southwest Japan called Yakayam a week later, the two men entered the great throne room of the Shredder's mansion. The room was heavily guarded. At least 10 foot ninjas, dressed in the typical metal helmet covering the face, red vest and black pants, were at the door, and over 100 in the throne room itself. The room was ridiculously large, about 1 square kilometre. A red carpet led in a straight line from the humongous metal doors to a throne right in the centre of the vast space. The throne was on a platform, and both the throne and the platform were made of solid gold. Just to make that fact clear to everyone, the symbol AU had been roughly carved into the chair and platform several times. The throne appeared to be facing away from the two men. Surrounding the throne on several great stained glass windows were various representations of a bulky, well-built man, most of them showing him topless and at least one completely nude, fighting off various hellish beasts or black-robed nightmarish creatures. For some reason, the man in the pictures sent more chills down the men's spines than the monsters he was battling against.
So, what is this place, huh? Gives me a very bad vibe.
Peter shuddered. Come on, just stick with it, Kevin responded. Think of what they said about power beyond our dreams. His friend seemed to calm down at the thought and gave a gormless and nearly toothless smile.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool, I suppose. I ain't never been to Japan before.
Then the lights of the room dimmed and the throne began to rotate. Music blared from speakers that were hidden in the shadows of the ceiling. The throne was cast into bright spotlight. The music seemed to be Mars, the Bringer of War, by Gustav Holst.
Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to my world,
came a deep, strongly accented with Japanese tones voice. It appeared to come from a gleaming suit of metal armour that sat on the throne. The armour was well polished and made the figure of Hamato Saki appear magnificently overgrown muscle-wise. It appeared to have jagged spikes on its shoulders, arms and legs, pointing outwards and towards whoever he faced. He was also wearing a lusciously flowing red cape and had a belt that had a buckle with a red foot symbol engraved on it. Two things made the men gulp on closer inspection. One, the man was wearing a helmet that completely covered his face, except his eyes that seemed to be a strange shade of deep crimson, and even more obscurely than that, emitting light. And secondly, he had 2-foot blades attached to his hands. Despite having a distinct lack of conscious intellect, both men had figured out pretty quickly why he called himself the Shredder.